Back in my full-time Discord moderator and part-time boss rating days, I was pretty fat and unsurprisingly didn't want to be fat. So naturally, to lose weight, I did what anyone in my position would do. I went on a diet. No junk food, no more DiGiorno's pizzas at 2 a.m., and worst of all, no more 5-pound bags of Haribo gummy bears. Yes, I did in fact used to regularly eat 5-pound bags of Haribo gummy bears. Anyways, I never actually had success with doing this. I could keep myself on track for something like 2 weeks, lose about 4 to 8 pounds, and then, once my willpower kind of ran out after a little bit, I would just magically find myself in the kitchen pantry, binge eat, seemingly undo all the progress I'd already made, lose all the motivation I'd built up, and then just completely fall off the diet. And it wasn't just the diet, this happened maybe 4 or 5 times, where I'd get all this motivation, cut out all the junk food, eat 1 piece of candy, it turns into 100 pieces of candy, and then just quit the next morning. So to tie things back into the title of this video, I would pretty much just go back and forth between eating what was conventionally clean and all-out binge eating, just eating wherever the f I wanted. And you know, to spice things up every now and then, I would try keto and miserably fail at that too. So this video is going to be about restrictive diets, a little bit of psychology around being fat. You know, why do restrictive diets usually not work? Why was it that I couldn't stick to them longer than 2 weeks? And what was the alternative that I ended up actually being able to stick to that allowed me to get where I am now? So when you're in a spot where your starting point is fat, your diet obviously had to not be that great in order for you to eat the amount of food and kinds of food that would require for you to get to that weight. Oftentimes when you're really overweight or just overweight and trying to lose a couple pounds and you start out a diet, you tend to take things very aggressively, and I think it's pretty easy to fall into this trap of super restrictive dieting when you have all this motivation and you're just like, f the junk food, the Twinkies. I'm cutting it all out because that's what led to me getting fat, which to a certain extent, yes, that is true. That is actually what led to you getting fat, because those foods are calorically dense, taste super good, and are really easy to eat. But by the time you're at the point where you decide to make a change because you've gotten too fat, odds are you're already pretty much addicted to this way of eating. And if it makes you feel any better, I still am addicted to these foods too. So as a little bit of an analogy, if you have a crackhead and you take their crack away for 2 weeks, it's probably going to be quite the rough 2 weeks for the crackhead. And just based on crackhead probability, odds are when the 2 weeks are up, he's gonna find a way to get his crack back. The problem with these overly restrictive diets is they rely on willpower that you quite frankly just don't have. And I definitely didn't have it either. So what's the trick? Sorry to interrupt, but this video is brought to you by today's sponsor, me. I do one-on-one coaching, so if you're looking to improve your physique, it's the first link in the description. And on top of that, please follow me on Instagram. I've got a ton of YouTube subs, but I get like 2 likes on my Instagram posts, and I'm looking to expand a little bit and bring more content to you guys on there. So if you could, at the Thomas Arnold on Instagram, or it's linked in the description. And I'll shut up in a second, but bonus announcement, I'm working on a bunch of stuff behind the scenes, namely a fitness program, which I think a lot of you guys will really be interested in. So stay tuned for that. It's probably gonna drop around July. Back to the video. Of course, if you just start and you're somehow able to cold turkey quit eating all the garbage on day 1 and fully transition into eating healthy and clean foods, that's phenomenal. But just with some logical reasoning, I wasn't able to do that, and I was able to lose a ton of weight. And extending that logical reasoning a little further, statistics show that most people aren't even able to lose the weight. So odds are most people aren't going to be able to quit cold turkey into eating like the perfect diet, which honestly is pretty unrealistic and fairly miserable in itself. Like, yeah, health is really important, but to me, it's not so important that I'm going to give up insomnia cookies. I just like food too much, man. No matter what, if you're in a caloric deficit, you're going to be losing weight. So what I personally did was, 1, continue eating the foods I liked that were for me, but in moderation and overall just way lower quantities. I'm not going to lie, when I switched to tracking my calories instead of going with the restrictive route on my diet, for the first few weeks, people were looking at me like, what the fuck? I thought you were on a diet. Why are you eating Domino's pizza and gummy bears? And I was gnawing down on my Domino's pizza like, ha ha ha, because I'm tracking my calories. And they're like, And then 2, making lower calorie, higher volume food swaps. For example, replacing normal Coke with Diet Coke. I'm bulking right now and I still drink Diet Coke. For me, when I started out dieting, I didn't end up making the food swaps at first. However, I did still stick to my calorie intake goal for the day. And so what I found was I would drink the regular Coke still, I would eat a slice of Domino's pizza, and I would end up burning through my calories so quickly and end up with such a small amount of food that eventually over time I gravitated more towards making those low calorie, high volume food swaps just through learning and experimenting on my own, which is is another point I'd like to kind of hammer home a little bit. You should experiment with low calorie, high volume foods because honestly, some of them do taste like fucking shit. It's like every once in a while you'll buy something and it'll just be disgusting. Like, ooh, look what I got. I got this low calorie keto pizza, and you make it, you're all excited to eat it. It's like great for your macros, 2 calories a slice. You take a bite out of it and your face starts to turn green. You're gonna have that every once in a while, but for the most part, the food swaps aren't gonna be that bad. And on the contrary, occasionally you'll find something that's absolutely immaculate and a low calorie, high volume substitution. For me, prime example, cauliflower chicken nuggets. Basically the lowest calorie chicken nugget I could find, and on top of that, doesn't taste bad at all. So let's backtrack a little bit and think about this in almost stages. Stage 1. You're in the yo-yo dieting phase. You're making these drastic, crazy changes that quite frankly, you're just not capable of doing. It's a miserable way to eat anyways. Like if I was eating plain chicken breast and white rice for every meal, I wouldn't want to be on that diet either. Then you understand how to count your calories. You move on to stage 2 and you're like, holy shit, I can eat Domino's pizza and lose weight. And then you do it for a few weeks and you realize, I don't think it's worth it to eat 1 slice of Domino's pizza for dinner. Eating like that might also result in a similar situation as stage 1, where the volume of food that you're eating is so little you end up binge eating anyways and you're not even dieting at that point. And then you move on to stage 3 where everything kind of clicks. You start making more and more food swaps, and the best part is it's not just making the food swaps, you're actually going to be incorporating more and more cleaner and healthier foods over time as they suit your palate better. Maybe you're even smart enough and disciplined enough to start doing them in the first place, and you're not shitting yourself every night from the sugar-free Jolly Ranchers, which leads me to the next little section of this video. Eating clean really is something you should strive for. One thing I think you really should consider when it comes to valuing the importance of making that transition into eating healthier and unprocessed foods is your individual response to certain foods and eating a certain way. For example, some people feel amazing and mentally sharp when they fast. I don't. I feel lightheaded and like I can't get any work done, like I'm about to collapse. Some people, eating keto makes them feel amazing in a similar way. They feel like their body's running high octane and they're going crazy in the gym, running circles around everyone, and it's awesome. I'm not like that. I've done keto for extended periods of time and then gone back to my original diet, completely rebounded. Some people eat junk food and garbage and they feel like garbage. They shit themselves every 3 hours and mope around like zombies. If you are the kind of person that responds very poorly to a high processed diet, then you should place the value of you eating unprocessed and a healthier diet a lot higher. So you'd benefit greatly from eating mostly unprocessed whole foods, but you're so addicted to junk food that you can't quite do that. What I did when I was really struggling with eating healthier and cleaning up my diet was, instead of just removing the bad foods, cutting stuff out just because it's processed. Like for example, a lot of the low calorie, high volume food swaps are going to be fairly processed, but who gives a you get to eat like a fat ass and not be fat. But regardless, our goal is of course to move away from that and eat a primarily unprocessed and whole food diet. Instead of removing those 2 things I just mentioned, keep eating them, track the calories as you eat them, and then add in the healthy foods, like for example, pineapple, apples, vegetables, broccoli, chicken, you name it, and don't track the calories of those foods or underestimate it. That way it gives you a tangible and measurable motivation to eat those foods. You get more food in your belly for free. You don't track it on your calories, even if it does work against your goals a little bit, because in the long run, eventually you'll get so used to eating these foods that you won't even want the garbage to begin with. I really hope some of you guys are able to relate to this. Otherwise, I'm gonna sound like a toddler that had to have like someone force feed me. So to put it in a short and sweet way, if you have a high inflammatory response to garbage food, then try to do a better job of not eating like garbage. If the video was helpful, subscribe and give me a follow on Instagram, because I've got a ton of subscribers, but I have like 2,000 Instagram followers. It's kind of sad, so get those numbers up a little bit. And if you want me to coach you, it's the first link in the description. Thank you for watching.